releases don't actually matter anymore, do they?
Yeah, not particularly. I would argue no.
The year of 2020, nothing but digital matters.
I would agree.
Like, your paper cards mean nothing to you.
I keep buying them though.
Yeah, but like
in anticipation that I might use them.
You just like it's just you're clinging on to a dead dream of maybe playing Magic and paper someday.
Oh, yeah.
A boy can dream, man. It's like that fucking grandma meme where she's like in with a stretcher.
Oh, it's like, okay, grandma.
Magic the Gathering in paper. Shut up, grandma. You old bitch.
Oh, some of those memes are incredible.
We are living one of those memes right now. Just talking about paper cards like they actually fucking matter or exist. Back in 2019, I remember playing with human beings in person.
Feels like it's been forever since we played in person.
Yeah, shut up, grandma.
Even us together.
Yeah, we haven't even touched paper Magic cards in a very long time. Because Magic Online, what nickel game?
Yeah. Yeah, of course, true. That is the way to play Magic the Gathering in 2020.
Is wood nickel. I don't even care what format you're playing.
Premier new format. That's actually what they're announcing.
That's what the banning restriction. They're banning all other formats. The only format is wood nickel.
So are we just recording everything and then you're gonna cut out the dumb shit where I ask dumb questions like this?
All
right.
Well, except for this one right now.
Okay,
I'm not cutting out that dumb question.
Well, I mean, it is the first time I've been on the podcast.
What is up, you Tutu Drake creature tokens? Welcome back to another episode of the Fetch and Shock podcast. I am your host, a turn one modal double-faced land, Tyler, and joining me, a very special guest, a pack one, pick one Mesa Lynx, Austin. Austin, what is going on, dude?
Not too much. Here to enjoy the ride.
Now, Austin, like previous guests of the podcast, you don't have your own podcast or your own YouTube thing. You're not of any kind of Magic fame. Why are you here?
Because you happen to be friends with me and we play Magic together.
Oh yeah, that's right. So having you on, you are completing the circle. We had Zach and Rupert. Now you're in. I've collected all of the legendary Pokemon.
We're the Exodia of MTG.
The Exodia. I was thinking legendary Pokemon. Or like the Power Rangers when they like get together and they like morph. I guess that's what Power Rangers do is morph.
Or the Voltron.
Voltron's a good one too. There's a fucking thousand things. But yeah, I'm completing my collection of Voltron trading cards with having you on the podcast.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad we finally had the stars aligned to where I can record.
Yeah, where you're not too busy, like saving human lives and shit.
I mean, that's definitely debatable.
So, Austin, tell the folks at home a little bit about your origins in Magic.
Well, it goes back to our friend Zachary, who has obviously appeared on the podcast, I believe, twice now. We were at his humble abode one day, and he was like, "You want to rock some Magic cards?" And being a nerd that I was growing up, my interest was piqued because what nerd doesn't love collecting expensive cardboard?
That's true.
At that point, we jumped in the, I'm not sure if he had the Buick at that point, but I'm pretty sure that's what we were rocking.
Oh my god, the fucking 92 Champagne Gold Buick Century. Holy fuck.
Shout out. So we hopped in that boy, took it straight to Walmart, because, that's where everyone goes to buy their Magic cards, and bought me a fat pack of the best set ever printed, Dragon's, if you could believe that. Yeah, had just released, and we were like, you know what, this is the newest set, we don't know anything about this, let's just roll with it. And at that point, it just became a overnight hit with our friend group, basically.
I can't believe how many times I've told this fucking story. But it was just like you, myself, and like three of our very, very close friends, just like out of nowhere, just being like, fucking, I guess we'll do this.
I mean, and look at us now, nearly, over 10 years now, basically.
I think it's been 8 years.
8? Yeah,
it's actually because it was the year after we graduated, and next year is our 10-year anniversary of graduating high school.
Yes, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, math checks out.
That? We're getting old, bud.
Yeah, 2011, then 2021. That's 10. Your boy can fucking count. Math isn't only for blockers, turns out.
Math is only for blockers. Okay, Dragon's Maze was May 3rd, 2013. So, yeah, definitely 2012 is whenever. So,
That's
yeah,
when
8 years.
nasty.
Yeah, because I couldn't even. I don't even know what I was thinking. I was like $40 for this fat pack. It's a lot of money for cardboard. And now I look at my collection and I'm just like, oh, I could throw up.
Yeah, you with like the
And I
legacy
don't even,
dredge.
and I don't even have many expensive cards.
No, but I mean, you do have 4 lines eye diamonds for dredge, so like that's a
I
real
do.
thing. But
Yeah.
that's a good transition into now that we no longer are in like 2012.
Yeah.
Now we're in 2020.
Ooh.
What formats are you playing now compared to just the kitchen table bullshit that we used to fuck around with?
Obviously, shout out to Wood Nickel Gang, Rise Up.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I haven't been playing too terribly much. I have been enjoying group drafts with our mutual friend Bubba, and obviously with you. However, haven't been playing too much of the legacy format or the modern format, online or in paper.
Well,
I do
paper's
tend to,
obviously pretty hard
yeah,
to get into right now. Like jamming games of paper is just like essentially impossible unless you have like a close knit friend group. But like,
yeah.
I'm sure you and I, living like minutes apart from each other, we could like come together and just play a couple games of Legacy. But it's just more fun in an environment where you have a bunch of people.
Yeah, I do definitely like the group effort, especially when you're playing something like Legacy, because you generally have a pretty diverse group of decks to play against whenever you get any amount of people in the same room.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Same with Modern.
Yeah, I feel like we haven't been deep into Modern for quite a minute. I know, especially you and I, because I feel like if we're gonna talk about our friend group, I know I've obviously had podcasts with Zach and Rupert before, and I've mentioned kind of our dynamic, but you and I were kind of the two that broke out
Oh,
and
yeah.
really pursued like competitive formats in a very serious way. Like Zach built 8-rack in Modern, and that's been his deck for again like close to 8-10 years now. But you and I, we did the whole like try a bunch of different decks in Modern, like do a bunch of crazy shit. I dove into Legacy, and then like a year later you dove into Legacy. We've always been on like that slightly more competitive side of things.
Yeah, I definitely do. As much as I love limited formats and Commander being constructed, but I do love dipping my toes into some real competitive play with Modern and Legacy. And I remember finally going all in on buying my first Modern deck, getting Merfolk. And
Fishy boys. You are almost solely responsible for my hatred of the card spreading seed. Like I can think of like multiple cards in my Magic career that I can link back to either loving or hating because of you specific.
I mean, I do what I can. Spreading Seas is obnoxious to play against, and it does
Fucking
blow
Christ,
people
it
out.
is.
It can still does it to this day. But I just remember, like, back whenever I was trying to drop that money on Aether Vials, I was just like, these are like $19 to $20 a piece right now. This is the most money I've ever spent on Magic the Gathering, buying a playset of Aether Vials, and now that just seems like
That's
I'm
chump
looking
change.
at the price right now. It's like I could just buy 4 of right now, and it wouldn't even phase me.
Yeah, peasant shit.
I mean,
It is amazing how like your perspective of card prices evolves over your length of time playing this game. Like you said, when you like the very first day one, you looked at a $40 box of cards and you're like, that's fucking. And you look at now, like almost a decade later, you look at a $40 card and you're like, I mean, yeah, I probably could use 4 of those.
I mean, at least one for Commander, right?
Like it's just so wild. Like our perspectives just skewed so hard.
Yeah, it really is crazy how much that changes. Like going from looking at, I remember spending $8 for a Goblin Guide, thinking that was wild, and now like just the other day I was perusing eBay for revised duels. Like, where does the world go?
No, it goes to fucking shit. That's where it goes. To hell in a handbasket.
Oh, yeah, 2020 has definitely been
Magic
the
will do
year.
that. Yeah, and the year of Woodnick, which is like just like another crazy, weird financial dichotomy that we found ourselves in, where
Which
you and I both have paper legacy decks, and our current favorite format is a format where an entire deck costs at most $5.
$5, which
So
I have been enjoying incredibly much.
that
I'm really
goes to show, like, you don't need to spend a shitload of money to have a fucking blast playing Magic.
No, you do not, especially when it's online.
Oh, hell yeah. You know what, dude? Speaking of online, there is something that has happened this past week particularly online, that I am very excited about.
And what is that?
You alluded to it a little bit earlier, but man, this Zendikar limited format is actually pretty fucking fun. I really like Zendikar Rising.
Yeah, I do have a soft spot for Landfall. It is just such a sweet mechanic, and I have been enjoying it in the limited format as well. Just so many cards have it, and it's just like it feels good every time you play a land, and you get more than just playing a land.
Yo, yeah. We kind of touched on that a little bit last week when we were talking about the mechanics, me and Rupert, that Landfall for limited makes your turn 10 land that you drew where you don't have any other cards in hand and you didn't need another land feel significantly less bad. And anything that can eliminate the, oh, this feels bad thing is so positive, especially for a limited format.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, there is obviously a lot of bad feelings in Magic the Gathering, but top decking land when you just were hoping for gasoline,
that has to be number
definitely.
one bad, like worst feeling.
I mean, it's definitely in the top 3, but
I would say
having
that's
that
the worst feeling thing that you have no control over that your opponent didn't do to you.
fair,
It's
yeah,
just the
that is
randomness of it.
yeah.
Thanks,
But
Variance.
having that little bit of sweetness come out of the landfall trigger, even if it's just something little, does make that land hurt just a little bit less, if not a lot, depending on your landfall trigger.
Oh
I
my
mean,
god. Like I have been in games already and I probably did 10 to 15 drafts of this format and I have been in situations where it is turn like 7 or 8 and I'm not hoping for a spell off the top of my library. I'm just like fucking please for the love of god let this be a 4 or a plains or something. Like I just need that extra land to trigger all of my things and then I have lethal. That is such a cool feeling. And then it's like it's a land and then you win, or it's a spell and you're like, oh, this is actually pretty good here too.
this might work out.
Yeah, fuck yeah. So let the people know I am already familiar with your limited experience for this format because I have been there for all of it. But let the
Yes, you
people know
have.
what experience you have had with this limited format.
Well, we had that incredible. It was a 7-1 run with Bubba piloting the other day.
That was
Uh,
our very first. I mean, I don't know about you. I'm pretty sure
that
it
was
was all
right out of
three
the
of us.
gate.
That was our
That
first
was
go at it.
that was day of release, correct?
That
That
was
was
release day because
yeah.
we were battling the hardest matchup in this format so far has been Arena itself. Like there is not a single opponent out there that can get me as bad as the Arena client. Like somehow the Arena client is run on like an iPhone 2. So it's just a pile of shit.
Yeah, I've been noticing a lot of waiting for server, a lot of that kind of.
Oh, the black screen of death where it's just like,
Yeah,
oh, cool. Like I was halfway through a draft before and I got black screened, came back, and Arena just finished my draft for me. I'm like, oh, cool. Thanks, Arena. I have a like maybe quarter playable deck.
I would definitely be writing a strongly
A
worded
strongly
email to
worded letter.
Wizards. It's like you better give me back my gems so I can redraft and throw this pile of garbage straight into the endless void that is the interwebs.
Yep. No, just yeah, throw it out there and eventually nobody will catch it.
If a magic deck falls in the woods and nobody hears it, did it make a sound?
If it's all forests. It's just 60 forests. That's the tree falling in the woods.
You got to do your part for the environment.
Yeah, for every magic card that you purchase, Wizards will plant one forest in the wild. And they just have some fucking nameless, payless intern just out there with a stack of base digging holes.
Just all sweaty, just like when he's playing.
In the fucking Amazon, and there's panthers stalking him. He's just like, gotta plant another 40,000 forests for the 40,000 packs that were sold last minute. Fuck.
Oh, I see a lot of this set being sold. Speaking of selling lots of packs last minute, expeditions are just gonna. Is that enough right there just to sell this set?
I don't think so because of the way that they're being distributed. It's more of like the premium packs get those.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't see there being an issue with this set selling in, I guess, the way that they're expecting it to sell. They can't have this like grandiose notion that this set is going to sell really, really well because we're in 2020. Like it's full blown pandemic right now, at least especially in America. Like everything's still pretty shut down here. You can't just go and buy a box of cards like willy-nilly. You can't just like walk up to a place and buy cards. And not because like shops aren't open either. Distribution is getting hit pretty heavily too. I've been seeing a bunch of people not or be like worried about getting actual product.
I don't know too much about the Magic distribution, obviously, because I haven't been to a shop in majority of all of 2020. However, I could definitely see that being an issue. I don't know where Magic prints their cards. I'm gonna assume not America. So, yeah, that could definitely put a large impact on boxes being printed and shipped, especially if it's coming
Absolutely.
overseas. Shipping is definitely slow for a lot of things right now.
For sure. But yeah, so our limited experience for Zendikar Rising, our first go at it, we drafted, which I have come to believe is the best deck in the format. If you have the cards for it, we drafted the blue-green kicker deck, right?
Yes, we did, and we missed out on a lot of decent picks too, and that deck still ended up being incredibly strong.
Yeah, because we didn't know whether we were going to be. We had black in there at some point because we were seeing some decent removal, and then we just like got super paid off for being blue-green. But there are just some disgusting cards in this set for that exact archetype. Like Into the Royals might be the best common in the set.
Yeah,
It's so gross.
Actually looking at it right now.
Like, Into the Royals is nuts. Bubble Snare is an incredible card, not just in that deck, but in any blue deck. Cunning Geyser Mage is one of my front runners for favorite card for limited in this set, because people don't seem to be respecting that card at all. And I think that card is very, very good. Like, you're never going to pick one that card, but like when you see that card like 7th or 8th pick pack 1, that should genuinely be a signal that blue is going to be open.
Oh,
that card
100%.
is nuts.
Yeah,
like
it's incredible.
6 mana for a Mana War seems like a lot, but when you take into consideration that you can just play it for 3 mana as a 3/2, it has a very relevant creature type, Wizard, and it can trigger all of the kicker nonsense that is going on. Like, that's pretty good.
Yeah, party mechanic, definitely party on Garth.
Yeah, party on Wayne.
Anyways, yeah. Wizard definitely very relevant subtype, and I definitely agree. 6 mana to have that ability plus the 3/2 body is incredibly versatile, especially coming out just as the 3/2 on turn 3 isn't a bad play if that's what you got.
Absolutely.
Blue overall, I think, is just the common slot, especially, just has a lot of great cards.
It's stacked up. But I think there are a lot of really good commons in this set for limited. And like that's across the spectrum, which is you don't really see that too often. Like you can build a deck that is primarily commons and your commons are going to be some of the best cards in your deck, which is so great for this format. Like white has Nahiri's Binding, and you can pick those up and just be totally fine. Because some of even like the cards that would be crappy normally, because they have those relevant creature types, like Cleric, Wizard, Warrior, all of those cards get bumped up a notch. Like normally, Core Celebrant, it's the 1/4 for 3 mana, 2 and a white, and then whenever it or another creature enters the battlefield, you gain a life. Normally, that card would be just like awful in most formats. In this format, that card is very powerful in the right deck.
Oh yeah, if you're going all in on the party, I mean, he gets you life every time another party member joins, and he counts for himself, and he's a 1/4 body, which isn't nothing to shake your head at.
No, absolutely not. Hey, okay, so let's talk about some of the archetypes in this format too, because you were mentioning like the party thing. I have kind of divided this up into there's the party decks, which is almost every single color. There's the landfall decks, which are pretty much only green based with an addition of white or an addition of red. And then the kicker deck, which is almost exclusively blue green. There is like, I guess the +1/+1 counters deck, which is Golgari, the green black deck. But I don't think I've ever seen that deck built. I certainly haven't built it well enough for that to be like really great, unless there's just a dumb rare. I don't know if there's enough support for it generally for that to be a good archetype.
Yeah, you definitely have to have some pretty all-star uncommons to make the counters deck work.
But party is just so perfectly built into this format because it has obviously the 4 different creature types, like the cleric, warrior, wizard, rogue. And you can have all of those in one deck and make a cohesive, like, party-style deck. But each of those creature types has their own sub-archetype, which is the coolest part. Like, so it fulfills tribal. It scratches that tribal itch without being so focused on, like, oh, this is the lord that gives all of your clerics +1/+1. This is the thing that draws you a card every time you play a wizard. It does it in such a cool way where it's so more broad than just being like, I need to have only wizards. I need to have only clerics. I need to have only warriors. It's perfect.
Yeah, I definitely like the tribal support. It honestly, it lets you delve just out of the normal like the normal type, like human, angel, which definitely, I love the flavor that you can get when you're forming your squad.
Oh, hell yeah.
And the synergies just are all over across the board with the party mechanic.
Yeah, like you have the white-black deck, which is focused on clerics, which is very, very good, like a life gain clerics deck. You have the red-white, which is pretty much focused on warriors. You have the black-blue, which is focused on rogues. And then you have the blue-red, which is focused on wizards.
Yes. And yeah, the color combinations they work well together. I mean, some of those, I mean, we saw some obvious examples. The equipment that gives your creature menace.
Oh yeah.
That thing was brutal.
You're talking about the
I'm having a hard time.
Ravenger's Mace.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the one black-red that whenever it enters the battlefield, you can attach it to a creature, and it gives a +1/+1 or +1/+0 for each creature in your party, and it gets menace. That card is gross.
Yeah, especially that it comes out for 3 mana and you get to attach it. I know you and Roop actually touched on how playable these equipments become when they immediately make an impact when they hit the board.
Yeah.
If their equip cost is high. Like, if you're playing that and equipping on the same turn, like, that's 7 mana. That's in 2 red and 2 black. Like, that's pretty...
That makes that card bad.
Yeah, I mean, that would be completely unplayable, basically, especially at uncommon.
But when you just get to pay 3 mana for it, and it almost acts like an instant where it gives your creature a +3/+0 in menace, but then it just sticks around. That is so good.
Yeah, and menace turned out to be quite a difficult mechanic to play against depending on the deck. Because I know when we played that deck, we had about 13 creatures, I think, which is just a touch light. I don't think it was bad, but we were definitely struggling against the menace factor.
Oh yeah, we were playing that was one of those drafts that we did together which if people don't do this, I highly recommend this. Going on Discord, one person just streams a draft and the other person just kind of sits in, and then you guys draft the deck together and play the games together. It is not only a incredibly fun experience, but just having somebody else in your ear, being able to give opinions on plays, give opinions on picks, and you guys just making more educated decisions is such a cool time.
Yeah, that is very fun time indeed. I'm glad we have been doing that. I think that's something we should definitely continue to do in the future. Because obviously drafting does cost some amount of money unless you're an MTG Arena grinder and you have endless gold, but that is not me.
Certainly not me either. I only use Arena for drafts, so I am not sitting there doing jamming historic games or jamming standard games because I think that's boring.
Yeah, I think there's occasions where I would like to jam some games if I had the wild cards to support building some of those decks. I just don't play Arena enough to do that. Because I do like to watch our friend Bubba play some standard and historic on occasion because he is a heavy grinder. And he has everything for standard and or historic basically because he's been playing Arena since its inception. So that's definitely enjoyable.
I don't have the patience or just that inner will in me to be the Arena grinder guy. I will play a deck. If I have wild cards, I will build a deck. I will play it. And then I'll be like, oh, okay, I'm done with this. And then I won't have any wild cards. I won't have anything else. And I'm just like, okay, well, this is where my constructed journey ends. This happened with last standard when I was playing the cycling deck. I built the cycling deck. I was like, this is super fun. Played it for a week and then was totally off it. And then I just didn't have anything to show for it.
Yeah, there's definitely a line that can be crossed when you've played the deck too much. Obviously in paper you don't feel that as much because opportunities to play paper especially right now, don't happen all the time. I would love to get out there and play Dredge every single week, maybe, on paper with friends or at Friday night.
Yeah.
But jamming the same deck continuously on Arena and even on MTGO, that's why I don't. I mean, I have the cards to play Dredge Online, but I rarely, if ever, do play online, which I know is bad for my overall practice and compiling of the deck. But I don't want it to ever feel stale, which I don't think
There
it
is that
will.
fatigue that you get
Yeah,
after being able to jam games like infinitely until the end of time. And when that fatigue hits, it's hard to shake that off.
yeah, I don't ever want to have that. I mean, with standard, it's not as bad because that metagame does change quite regularly. Historic, it's kind of opened up on that. I'm actually looking at the mono blue tempo deck that I really enjoyed back when it was in standard. That would have
Oh
been
yeah.
Ixalan and Ravnica, I guess. Returned to Ravnica.
Return to Ravnica.
Yeah, I have this entire deck basically built straight over copy paste into historic from when it was in standard using very few wild cards. So I mean, I do have that to jam on arena if I'd like to, which I did enjoy it. But just looking at it right now, I mean, it's not getting me excited to turn on arena,
No, and
unfortunately.
that's my thing too. Like the only time I turn on arena, it's when I dive deep into a limited form, like I have been doing with. I don't really ever do that with standard. I wish I had like the want to do that. I would love to just do that and be happy, but that just doesn't scratch an itch for me.
Yeah, I think you have to look at the metagame as well. Like standard metagame right now, uh, obviously is pretty rough,
Oh yeah.
to say the least.
Look at you,
I mean,
master of transitions.
I,
We're gonna fix that real quick, or Wizards is gonna fix that.
yeah, did you hear about the announcement for the announcement?
I can't even tell you how happy I am that we have not figured out what Wizards is gonna do yet. Like we just have no idea. Like, are they gonna announce something? Are they gonna announce an announcement for something? Are they just gonna just drop it on our heads? Like we don't know. We have no idea. But this time around, we did get the announcement for the announcement that Standard is in trouble. And it turns out Monday, we're going to get some shakeups.
Yeah, I mean, I think standard. I mean, I follow the metagame just a little bit. I mean, I browse Goldfish. I watch a little bit on Twitch when I'm at work. Shout out to watching Twitch at work for anyone that has the privilege to do that. But yeah, standard. And obviously, they definitely do something. Looking at the metagame percentage, it looks like four-color Omnath right now, according to Goldfish, is a whopping 33.6% of the metagame.
Yeah, love that.
Wow, Zer, that is something.
Yeah, you don't see stuff like that very often. I mean, actually, you do, because we have just been seeing that recently with Standard, where every single set comes out and there's some dumb, stupid thing that goes on that just needs instantly banned. Like we had it with Oko, we had it with a million different things. It started, I feel like, back in Almond Cat, right, with the artifact that got you Ulamog.
Oh, I'm not sure the name off the top of my head. I would definitely have to look that up.
I can't remember what the hell it's called, but I got you Ulamog or it got you Emrakul, the second Emrakul from Shadows over Innistrad, and then they banned Emrakul from Standard, and then ever since then we've just been seeing hits to Standard, and I can only presume it's from power creep, but people have just been like doing so much speculation, so much shit talking online about how like they can design cards better or like trying to get to the bottom of why all this is happening. And powerful cards sell packs, if we're going to be 100% on it.
Yeah, and Wizards is a business, so I understand they need to make money. While I don't necessarily agree that's the healthiest thing for the game, they do need to make money.
What are you going to do?
I mean, we saw that with Modern when Horizons came around. I mean, that completely brutalized the metagame there once they figured out that Hogak was broken.
Well, I mean, and if you're going to bring up the Modern thing too, we've seen that in other formats. Like Modern Horizons by itself, really fucked Legacy up, and the Planeswalkers from War of the Spark. That really put a hurting on Vintage too. Like they had to ban Nahiri out of that because that was such a disgusting card. So it's not like power creep is only affecting Standard; it's affecting formats across the board. I don't remember who it was, but I saw something on Twitter recently that somebody did a data crunch on years of cards being printed and their play in Legacy. And right now, the most played year of cards in Legacy is 2019.
Yeah. I mean,
how disgusting is that?
Really wild to think about that.
It just blows my mind. So who do you think is getting the axe come next Monday?
I mean, Uro seems like an obvious target. He's incredibly strong, or she. I'm not gonna assume his gender.
You say
But
I'm not going to assume his gender.
I'm really bad at 2019 still, or 2020, I guess. Where either year, I'm pretty bad at it.
Well, just every year since 2005, you've been just bad at it.
I mean, I don't see a way. I mean, I don't see them banning Omnath, Locus of Creation, right out of the gate. I mean, he is hard to play. He's 4 colors. I mean, we do have the Triumph lands to make that easier, but you do have to build the deck around him. Oro just seems to be, you put it in the deck if you're playing blue and green, and he does what he does.
You just can't not do it. And that's again, not even in standard. You just do that in modern, you do that in legacy, you do that in every format that you're playing blue and green, because Uro's ability is just disgusting.
I mean, the only deck I can see in the entire metagame right now, the Teamer Adventures deck that doesn't play him. And even then,
like that deck,
you could jam him, right?
That.
Why
Absolutely
not?
You could. Like that's just so gross that the best deck in the format, and then the second best deck in the format, probably the third best deck in the format, are all playing the same cards. I do think that Omnath is probably not long for this one.
Yeah, I mean, they could definitely just take him out and then bring it back to where we were basically prior to Zendikar.
See, I don't even know if they're going to do that. I think what they're going to do is a little bit of both. A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. Get rid of Omnath and get rid of Uro. Completely just shake the format off of its hinges and just see what happens. Like, you still have very powerful cards, especially in green. Like, you still have Lotus Cobra. That card is dumb.
Yes, it's very powerful, especially when you're trying to play more lands with Omnath and getting extra lands with Oro.
It's just so good.
Yeah, he definitely makes you mana every time you drop a land. Which,
I mean, like, I don't know how you're going to avoid this in the future, because that's another thing too. People are thinking, okay, like, we're just going to continue just having standard bannings like the week of release, of like full release. Is this just how we live our lives now, or does this issue need fixed? I don't actually know the answer to that question.
I mean, the metagame right now is obviously still a little wild, just because of rotation happening so recently and losing Ravnica and War of the Spark and M20, I guess, as well. We lost a lot. Fall rotation always feels like such a beating. You lose so many cards out of standard, which I guess is necessary for the format to survive, but it seems like the 4-color Omnath deck is just way out of control already.
Oh, I agree 100%. But there's this argument against that too, where you take that into consideration, where this is essentially a brand new format. At what point do you just like try to let it evolve? Will it evolve past Omnath, or will Omnath just reign supreme? I don't think anybody really knows that answer to that question. I think a lot of people are leaning towards the no, it'll never evolve past that, and that's why the bannings are going to hit. But God, like, we've had it for a week.
Yeah.
Is the format solved already?
I mean, I'd like to say no, but I am very not an expert on standards, so I have no idea if it's solved or not.
Oh yeah, to preface this, like, you and I are both total fucking and we don't play standard at all. So like, we're just talking on a very just like base level. Like, we play Magic, we have been playing Magic for a while now, and this is what we're observing without any actual knowledge about the format. Like, I haven't played a game of standard against Omnath. I've only seen things and have heard things from people who do play this format a bunch, and just drawing conclusions off that.
Which you kind of have to, because I don't want to spend my time is valuable to me, and I don't want to play standard with it.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. But I think that's also, like, our opinions aren't less valid because we don't play the format. Because if they do something that makes us want to play the format, that's a net positive for Wizards. And I don't think you and I are the only two people in this category of human being.
No, I think that's actually, I would imagine it's a fairly large demographic of Magic players that just...
It might not be the majority, but I think you're right. It's got to be a large piece of the pie.
I mean, there's definitely a number out there that Wizards would have to consider targeting to like try and get those people into the standard. I mean, that's what sells packs. You buy packs on Arena then too. Like, you buy packs on MTGO.
I mean, power level might have something to do with that, but it's not power level to the point where cards need axed so frequently. So I mean, they could just be trying to find the foothold in between that fine line of like cards that are very, very powerful, but cards that aren't too powerful. I would hope that they find that line sooner rather than later. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of cards on the ban list right now for standard.
There are more cards banned in standard in the past year than the first 25 years of Magic.
Yeah, which is pretty insane.
I mean, that's a pretty bad indictment against the play design team. If we're going to be 100% honest, they don't test modern, they don't test legacy, they don't test vintage. They only test standard and limited. The limited formats this year, I will give them, have been probably the best we've seen in the past like decade. Sure, in that past decade, we've had standout sets like Innistrad, Dominaria, stuff like that. But on the whole, I think the limited formats from today to a year ago today have been overwhelmingly more positive.
Yeah, I would agree.
But then you have standard, where it's just a absolute shit show and everything is either figured out immediately or there's just a dominant deck that just everybody has to loom either on top of or under, and they just have to live with that until the rotation or until something's banned.
Speaking of rotation, we actually lost a lot of cards off the ban list to rotation because it's actually, I'm looking at Wizards website right now and it does not seem to be updated for rotation.
Oh, well, I don't think do they update that or they just like leave that as is? I'm not sure.
I mean, they're no longer in standard. Why would you keep them on the ban list, right?
I mean, Wizards can't print cards that are of a reasonable power level, so why do you expect them to update their website?
Three fairies no longer in standard yet. He's still on the standard ban list.
Yeah, so that's I think it might have been just an oversight on Wizards, or they're just waiting until actual release day to do that. But
that's true. I don't think actual release date has not happened yet, which is why it's not changed.
Rotation has already happened. So we're in a topsy turvy world where nothing matters.
Does rotation not happen till it actually releases on paper?
No, rotation has already occurred.
Oh.
And I think that's largely because we are in a world where digital magic is the only thing that matters. Because paper magic doesn't exist.
Fair.
Like they're not going to make decisions based on unicorns because unicorns aren't there. And the unicorn in question is paper Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, right now. But yeah, back to the announcement for the announcement. I guess that's their way of giving the people an answer to the already mess that is going to be the event this weekend. That seems to be of the standard variety.
Yeah, they got to at least give the people something. I mean, is this enough? I don't know. I'm not the arbiter on this. It has just caused so much mess among Magic folk that it's just a ubiquitously part of the conversation.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to say that maybe at this point, because bannings are so commonplace, that people are just more willing to jump to that conclusion sooner rather than later. Like, could you remember back in the day? Like, this was right when we started, like, really digging deep into Modern. We had, like, 2 big hits with Splinter Twin and Birthing Pod.
Yeah,
and those were like fucking doors blown off. Like everybody was so shocked. Now you mention a banning in Magic and people are just like, oh yeah, you mean like the one 2 weeks ago? It's just so commonplace now.
Yeah, it's definitely taken a turn there because unless things absolutely got extremely degenerate, nothing was ever done. Like, and Splinter Twin, just what it was the reasoning, they wanted to diversify the metagame at that point, was that.
Yeah.
And even then, I mean, yeah, it was a large portion of the metagame, and it wasn't, I mean, it did feels bad when you lost on turn 4, but, I mean, that was slow for Modern at that time.
And it wasn't as big of a part of the meta as, like, Euro and Omnath are right now in Standard. So I don't know what is the catalyst to this, whether it is the power creep or it is the Magic players are jumping to bans sooner than they would in previous years of Magic. It's probably a delightful concoction of both. But
I think one reason for that is now that there's so much Magic being played online, a lot of people are playing. I mean, you only had the large events. I mean, you obviously had MTGO back then, like when Splinter Twin was a thing, but you don't have those big events where, like, when you saw how powerful decks really were nowadays, you can
like GPs and Pro Tours and shit.
You just look at Arena and you see, like, the obvious massive crushing metagame that is 4-color Omnath right now.
That's actually something I wasn't even thinking. That's a really, really good point about how before the largest portion of data we would get was every weekend when there was an SEG or a GP or something like that. And obviously you didn't get a modern GP every weekend. You didn't get a standard GP every weekend. So there was at least some space there. There was some room to breathe. Now, the only place where data can be surmised from is the digital realm. And there's so much more Magic being played now than back then. Is that has to be a factor, right?
Yeah,
it can't not
definitely
be.
a factor.
Because you think about the amount of Magic that's being played in a week compared to now versus a decade ago, it has to be, I don't know, 300% more, 500% more, maybe north of that.
Yeah, it has to be a large percentage increase. I mean, Magic's only gotten extremely more popular, and then that a lot of that's obvious Commander, but that's still people always
Even
trickle in
Arena.
other formats, and Arena coming out too. I mean, we always had Duels of the Planeswalkers and those kind of games, and they were fun, but like obviously they needed to break away from Moto a little bit and get people on a client that looked good and played well with Arena, and it
and
obviously
played with other people well too. That's a big thing.
Yeah. Which I still think there's an argument for that. I mean, it is difficult, or at least back at Arena's inception, it was not exactly easy to play against a friend. I mean, it wasn't difficult,
but we have that
but
now, which is nice.
and definitely need.
Oh, absolutely. So, final verdict. What do you think is going to be hit by the BNR on Monday?
Final verdict. Omnath is too new. I think there's a world we can have him in the format where he isn't busted completely. So my bet is going to be Uro. I mean, I can't think of another target personally.
All right, I can respect that. I think that Omnath is big enough of a problem that we are going to see a chop to both Uro and Omnath. I think both of them are just out the door. Uro probably a little bit too late for that because its damage has already been pretty done, but it's better to do it than to not do it. And I think Omnath is just so.
Yeah, Omnath is very strong, which I think without Uro, he becomes
Omnath
in
gets
line,
worse.
though.
Omnath does get worse, but I still think a worse Omnath is still a too good Omnath.
You think he'll be too good even with Uro out of the picture?
I genuinely do. Again, not super big into standard, but from what I've seen, that card is still gross. And it still has so much great support. Like, it still has Lotus Cobra. It still has that Scoop Mob redo. Scoop Mob 2, Electric Boogaloo. Which, also, people were calling for that to be banned. Because those were the 4 cards that I think people were really talking about being banned. Was Scoop Mob 2, Electric Boogaloo, Mana Snake, Uro, Omnath. Scoop Mob 2, Electric Boogaloo was getting called because it's crashing Arena.
Yeah, I mean, they could just take it out of the game temporarily.
Or just,
Arena's
fix the
issue.
fucking thing.
Yeah, take it out just until they fix the problem. I mean, I don't code by any means, so that could be a massive undertaking. Or it could just be something that needs to be done, Wizard just needs to get on top of it. I don't know. But crashing the game is obviously super unpleasant and unfun for a lot of people, especially...
Yeah, I'm whatever on this at this point.
I would agree. I mean, it's not going to affect my life in any way.
No, but it's fun to bitch about.
Way. Yeah, definitely. It's definitely fun to speculate. I mean, Wizards gives us stuff all the time, but moving on to the next thing and being excited about it isn't necessarily a bad thing either.
No, I have got after this announcement, full blinders on to standard because then I don't have to worry about it unless something else comes up, which I doubt it. It's full blinders until Commander Legends comes out. That said, I'm very excited. So let's get all this negativity out of the way and then move forward to a set that is, I'm hoping, going to be sweet and doesn't really have any implications to standard, so people won't be complaining. If something comes out in this fucking set that ruins Legacy, I am going to fucking throw myself from the nearest bridge. That's where I'm at with this.
I don't foresee that occurring. However, I mean, we already know that Wizards does not care basically at all about Vintage and Legacy at this point. I mean, there's next to no support from them, and they just let it do its thing.
That's kind of what I'm scared of, though.
So, I mean, there is...
back to, the 2019 is the year of cards that are being played in Legacy the most. If they continue that train, it's just going to be fucking just 2020 plus dual lands in Legacy, and they're not printing very many good Death and Taxes cards in that, and I hate that shit so much.
Yeah, I would like to see newer Death and Taxes cards come out. I mean, they obviously can't go too crazy with it, but every so while throw you a bone. I know Zendikar gave you a little bit of spice with that. I believe it's an Archon.
Oh, actually, this is going to be I want to make this very, very clear to the world at large. I was so wrong. I made a snarky tweet about Skyclave Apparition, the 3-mana 1/2 black for a 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, exile up to one target non-land, non-token permanent you don't control with converted mana cost 4 or less. And then when Skyclave Apprentice leaves the battlefield, that permanent controller creates an XX illusion, where X is the converted mana cost of the exiled card. I made a snarky tweet about that card not being good enough. That card is now, in the current state of Legacy, is a 3-oven Death and Taxes. So I was so goddamn wrong.
I can definitely see why. I mean, it's good. I mean, I know you mentioned on the podcast last week about the 3-drop slot being extremely tight in Death and Taxes.
It's cool.
So Archon of Emeria, obviously, maybe a sideboard contender. I mean, it might be worth picking up a couple copies to have on hand if you would need them. But the Skyclave Apparition.
Yeah, Skyclave Apparition is just seeing so much play because of the other decks in the format right now. It hits almost every single planeswalker and every single creature that is coming out of the 2 most played decks, which is like the Snoko pile and then Temur Delver. It hits all of them. So it's just effectively a 3-mana removal spell that you can also just get weird with like Flicker Wisp and shit like that.
Yeah, you can. It's just does not feel as good giving them an illusion, but
I mean, but in a deck that you're so well equipped to deal with the creature interaction.
That's true. Yeah.
Like a fucking just straight up 3/3, you're fine with dealing with. And it's a blue thing. If you have Sophie on the battlefield, that just means nothing to you.
Nothing at that point.
It means actual factual nothing. So yeah, I was wrong. And the better players of Death and Taxes have proved that to me. So shout out to people that aren't me who play Death and Taxes.
Oh, I'm glad I'm looking at a 5/2 Legacy Champs deck right here that has 3 copies of it.
Yep. Is it XJ Cloud's list?
Yes.
Yep. That was the one that I was looking at like, oh fuck yeah. Because that guy is so goddamn good. I believe his name's Ryan. He's very funny on Twitter because he just shoots very straight arrows and he does not piss around. And he's also I think he's one of the moderators. No, he might be one of the creators of the Death and Taxes Discord, which I lurk very heavily on.
Yeah, I like to lurk in the Dredge Discord from time to time.
Yeah, fuck yeah. So shout out to Legacy Discord, shout out to XJ Cloud, and shout out to Skyclave Apparition for proving me wrong, making me look like a fucking moron.
Yeah, you love to see a new card that can slot into your deck do well. I mean, 5/2 is a good finish, especially for a Legacy Champs, so it's pretty sweet.
Oh, especially with Death and Taxes? I mean, that guy's also like much better at playing the deck than I am, which I consider myself like good at playing the deck. He's light years ahead. He sees lines that I couldn't even see, and he'll see them in his sleep. It's fucked. Guy's so good.
Yeah, shout outs to him. Keep rocking, keep jamming Death and Taxes.
Yeah, please, for the love of God, somebody make that deck good, because I'm obviously not the guy to do it.
Hey, that's all right, as long as you're having fun. Yeah, I cannot wait until we have, obviously we're not going to be having any big Legacy events this year in paper, but hopefully next year that changes, because I would like to get out there and play a little bit.
Oh, we're calling 2021 the year of Commander. Or no, 2020 is the year of the Commander. We're calling 2021 the year of Legacy. I'm calling it right now. It's making a comeback in a big.
I hope so.
I don't know. We'll see.
Probably not, but wishful thinking.
Listen, I'll keep my fingers crossed as you do.
So,
all right, dude. Well, I have one more thing that I want to ask, because now that we covered a little bit of limited from Zendikar Rising, we covered some of the constructed aspects of Zendikar Rising. I've asked almost everybody that I've talked about this question, at least on the podcast, but I want you to give me the rating 1 to 10. How do you feel about this set right now? All things considered.
All things considered, I mean, obviously I don't care about standard, so putting that aside, I mean, I like this set a lot. I'm excited to see what some cards slide into other metagames, such as Modern, Legacy. I mean, I don't really follow Pioneer much, but hopefully that format succeeds at some point. But the limited format is super fun. I'm hoping to actually fired up Arena to attempt to fire off a draft prior to this. I didn't get to it, but I'm excited to do some drafts.
Hell yeah.
Which, at the end of the day, with a new set, you want to draft it, and it's incredibly fun so far. Plus, it's always a good opportunity to get online and talk to you gentlemen and play some Magic, which I always enjoy.
The idiots. Yeah, get together with the homies.
Yeah, when we're not playing Wood Nickel Gang, we should be drafting Zendikar.
Hell yeah. I mean, that's probably what I'm going to do after we get done recording, is probably edit this on one screen and then draft on the other screen and then see what happens.
I'm extremely sad I have to go to work after this, or I would join you for a draft.
Rookie maneuver. So yeah, give me your scale on 1 to 10. What do you got?
1 to 10.
I need a number.
Well, can I have a reference? Like, what is a 10 set?
I mean, a 10 would be like the greatest set of all time. A 10 would be like Innistrad.
Okay, so 10 being Innistrad, if you consider it a 10, and a 1 being Dragon's Maze?
Yeah, Dragon's Maze are like Homelands.
I don't know too terribly much about Homelands, other than that it's been notoriously shit on since its inception, so... Given my somewhat limited experience of it, I'm going to give it a solid... I want to give it a 7. It definitely passes, and I definitely feel it's going to remain a strong set as far as
I can
limited.
Get down with that. I think before I got to actually play the set, I was giving it a 6.5. And now that I've actually played it, I'm sitting right there with you. I'm going to give it a 7.3.
Yeah, if I were to judge this prior to playing it, I'm always pretty skeptical about any new set, and I would be pretty harsh on a rating. I would probably put it in the 5 realm, but I feel like that's kind of where a lot of sets lie for me before I actually get to play them.
I agree with that.
Try to keep expectations low nowadays, especially when it comes
because then when something comes out, you're like, your dick's blown off.
Which always feels good. There's nothing like getting your dick blown.
No, there really is not. That is a sensation that you should cherish.
Especially when it gets blown off.
Fucking perfect. Well, dude, is there anything else you got?
I don't even know. How long we've been going now? We've been here for a while?
Yeah, we've been here for a minute.
All right. So I guess we have enough juice. I guess you could probably just let this rip at some point, right?
Oh, yeah. There's one more thing that we got to cover here.
What is that? We going to play a game?
Oh, motherfucker, you are so right. We are playing a game this week. And Austin, you familiar with this game?
I believe it's called Accumulated Knowledge.
Oh my God, you're so smart. I'm so glad you're paying attention. Yeah, it is called Accumulated Knowledge. Austin, do you know how this game works?
I unfortunately have heard it played many, many times, and one thing about coming on the podcast, I've always been just like, holy shit, I'm going to be so terrible at accumulated knowledge.
Oh, that's my favorite thing in the entire world is when somebody's just like dreading this shit.
So I'm definitely gonna speculate here that how many rounds are we doing? Is it 4?
5.
5, and you're
gonna have to get 3 out of 5.
3 to get the shout out. So
yes.
I definitely do not expect myself to get 3. I'm really just hoping I can at least have 1.
Okay, I like just like your perspective on sets. You're shooting very low so that when you exceed that, your dick's blown off.
I mean, this could be the podcast that completely falls off your entire listener base, or it could be the podcast that sends you into the stratosphere.
It's somewhere in between that, probably.
It's really a toss. It's really a toss-up.
Flip of a coin. But for anybody out there who is not familiar with the game that we are speaking of, it is, like Austin said, accumulated knowledge. In this game, I go to the Scryfall website and I hit the random card button. A random card pops up and I am going to ask Austin the name of that card. He has to give me the mana cost of that card. If he gets it right, he gets a point. And if he gets it wrong, oh boy, he never gets to dredge another card ever again.
That would be bad.
Pretty harsh punishment, I know. But Austin, you have to, like I mentioned, you have to get 3 out of 5. I'm going to give you 2 hints. Are you ready for your first card?
Oh, yes, I am ready. Fire it off.
Oh, this one is a iconic card. It is
Means I
Brass
might get
Man.
it. Brass Man.
Oh yeah.
All right. Just for the crowd, would you be able to remind me of my my hints and how many I have?
Oh yeah, sure. You have 2 hints, and you can get the type of card, whether it's like a creature, instant, sorcery, etc. You can get the ability on the card, so I will read you the text box. You can get, if it's a creature, if you think it's a creature, I'll give you the power and toughness if you'd like. If you really think you got it, you can ask for the flavor text. I'd be happy to give you that. Pretty much anything on the card. If you have the card and you want me to describe the art, anything on the card besides the mana cost, I would be happy to give.
Okay. Does that include the artist?
Yeah, I can give you the artist.
Okay. I don't want the artist in this particular point, because I'm fairly certain, with almost 100% certainty, that I have no idea what this card is. So it being a man and also brass, it could be a human, it could be an artifact creature, it could be literally anything. Even a boat. I don't think it's a boat though. So brass man, I don't know, and I don't think it's worth using one of my hints on, because I'm gonna assume it's an old card that I would not know even if he told me the text. So, it's definitely a creature. It's a man, so it's a creature. But I'm gonna go with that. It's definitely an artifact because it's brass. I'm gonna call it 2 colorless mana. Final answer.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah, that's gonna be my final answer because I have no idea.
Austin, Brassman is 1 colorless mana. Oh man, Brassman is originally printed, I believe, in Arabian Nights. Yes. And
okay, so I was supposed to know that.
No, this card is a pile. It is so bad. It is 1 colorless mana for an artifact creature construct. Brassman does not untap during your untap step, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you may pay 1 mana. If you do, untap Brassman. It's a 1/3.
1/3 for 1.
Yeah.
You have to pay more for.
It's a blocker, I guess.
Yeah.
That was a pretty rough start.
Yeah, that's I was not getting that one. Has it been printed in any recent time? I'm assuming
I don't
not.
think
I'm assuming not.
No. I think the last printing was like 5th edition.
Okay, so yeah, I was not getting that. That is
not a chance. But if it makes you feel any better, your next one, you're definitely going to get.
Oh boy, that's exciting.
Yeah, your next one is Terminate.
Can I get Terminate?
Terminate.
Oh, Terminate.
Yes.
Oh, that's an easy one. How did you scryfall on the Terminate? That is destroy
it's
target
the gods
creature.
of Scryfall.
I don't know when it was originally printed, but it's definitely destroy target creature with some other text on there. But it is a red and a black, because why do I know this card so well? I might have had it.
Jund.
Well, definitely for Jund, but I feel like back whenever we played Magic prior to me knowing anything, I feel like I had copies of it from somewhere.
Oh, maybe.
And I don't know why, because one of my first jank decks that I had thrown together was Rakdos.
Oh, I don't know if you had like the original. You probably had the
Oh, I'm assuming it was some sort of reprint.
You probably had the Alara block version of it. But yeah, you were 100% right. It's a black and a red. It's an instant that says destroy target creature. It cannot be regenerated.
Excellent. Oh, it cannot be regenerated. Okay, that's good to know in case I ever
Yes.
get terminated. Well, I got one. I got one, ladies and gentlemen. That's a lucky Scryfall roll.
Well, your next one is not quite as easy. I hate to break it to you.
Of course not. Why would it be?
Your next one is Frazzle.
Frazzle.
I promise you, this is not an unset card.
It sounds fake.
It does. I know. That's why I said it's not an unset card.
Well, guess this is number 3, so I guess I should use a hint at this point, right?
I mean, you can. I don't recommend it.
No.
I have been giving out recommendations. I think you're almost better off just using your hints on your 2 last cards, because this one's a weird one.
This one is a weird one. Okay. Frazzle. I mean, I don't even know where to guess. I mean, I have honestly no clue.
Awesome. The chant was interrupted, the components cooked, and Zoke worried that it was his brain he smelled smoking.
I'm assuming that's the flavor text.
That is the flavor text of Frazzle.
Oh boy. So what's a common converted mana cost? I don't even know what color it is. Let's go with maybe it's red. Frazzle? Maybe it's red. Let's go with 2 and a red.
2 and a red. Is that your final answer?
I mean, yeah, I'm just pissing into the wind here.
Well, you kind of pissed on yourself a little bit because it is 3 and a blue.
Yikes.
Yeah,
All right,
it is an instant speed spell. It says counter target non-blue spell.
For 4 mana.
For 4 mana, yes, that's so bad.
That's why I don't know it.
Yep. It is from Guild Pack. It has never been printed again.
I mean, there's a reason why it's never been printed again.
Yeah, it's very true. Well,
Wow.
Okay, now this is when shit starts getting real.
Yeah, because I have to get both of these.
You do. Are you ready for your next one?
Whenever you are, bud.
It is Storm Herald.
Storm Herald. Oh boy. So I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say I don't know this one off the top of my head. And I'm definitely going to take a hint.
All right, what would you like as the hint?
Hint I have. Well, I'm assuming it's a creature, and its power and toughness is probably not going to help me. Would you be able to give me any relevant text on the card?
Yes, I will tell you that Storm Herald has haste, and it says whenever Storm Herald enters the battlefield, return any number of aura cards from your graveyard to the battlefield attached to creatures you control. Exile those auras at the beginning of your next end step. If those auras would leave the battlefield, exile them instead of putting them anywhere else.
Okay. This seems recent. So it's definitely red because it has haste. So I definitely know that, and I know it's a creature at this point. Storm Herald, aura cards. Oh,
yeah, this one's
man.
This one's a funky boy.
That was a lot of text.
It really is.
It must be like a mythic or a rare that I just don't know about. Seems really powerful though.
It's not bad, yeah.
You're playing a lot of, but if it is red, which I'm assuming it is because it has haste, auras in red, that seems more like all that aura talk seems like a white card.
Ooh.
But my brain definitely wants me to say it's red because it has haste. Oh, that's a lot of text. I'd imagine that costs. I mean, it only lasts for 1 turn, right? Because you're exiling them at the end of the turn.
Yep. They are there for a turn and then they're gone.
Okay. And auras you specifically have to attach to creatures, correct?
Absolutely, yes.
So, I mean, maybe it doesn't cost too much. I'd imagine it's somewhere in the realm of like 4 or 5, right? I have no idea because it's a creature as well because it's entering the battlefield. So it could be, maybe it's like a 1/1 with a really good ability for cheap. Let's go with 3 colorless, and he's definitely a red.
3 colorless and a red. Is that your final answer?
That's my final answer.
Austin.
Did I get it?
2 and a red.
Fucking A.
You're so close.
How do you spell Herald?
Erald.
Okay. Let me
is
just
a rare
Scryfall.
from Theros Beyond Death. It is a 3/2 with all of that ability for 2 and a red.
And it has haste.
Yeah, it has haste, which is, I mean, it kind of has to, right? Because if you have no other creatures when you cast that, you can at least just jam everything on top of him.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It would be really, really bad if someone like removed one of your other creatures and you couldn't use him. Yeah.
Well, that was kind of a tough one. Your next one though, your very last card. It doesn't matter, but it's pride points.
Doesn't matter, but I'm gonna try and get it.
I think you'll get this one for sure.
That's a lot of.
I got confidence in you both.
You know,
it is deafening Clarion.
Oh, that is definitely 3 CMC. Do I have to guess the the actual colors?
Oh fuck yeah, we're no slouches here. You have to give me the real mana cost of the card.
Yeah, deafening Clarion, I know for sure. It's 1 colorless, a red, and a white. And it is I know it it doesn't wrath the board, but I know it deals damage to everything, and then I know it definitely has another ability on it that is pretty useless because I've seen it. It was played in a lot of control shells. It's out of the new Ravnica set.
It is.
I'm glad I got this one.
Yeah,
I only needed a card from 2019 to get this, or 2018 actually. I think. Yeah, fall of 2018.
Yep.
I feel a little better now. I got 2.
Yeah, it is almost exactly what you said. It is 1, a red and a white sorcery. You can choose one or both. Either deal 3 damage to each creature, or creatures you control gain lifelink until the end of turn.
Yeah, definitely never saw it. I mean, you can give your creatures lifelink because you can do both, correct?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, giving your creatures lifelink seems really good after you destroy everything on their side of the board.
Yeah, you just wipe their board and then just gain a little bit of life and deal some damage.
Doesn't seem bad. Yeah, good card. Actually, I remember that card specifically because I was like, maybe this card's pretty bad. Turns out it actually was pretty good.
No, that card was really solid.
Yeah.
All right, dude.
3
Well, you
mana.
finished 2 and 3, which I think is pretty respectable.
I feel like it's definitely something.
Yeah, it's better than nothing.
100% better than nothing, and it's one better than I expected. I think.
Again, exceeding expectations, blowing your own dick off.
There's nothing like blowing your own.
Well, dude, I normally make it you have to win the game to get the shout out, but I've been feeling real generous these past couple episodes with all these guests we've been having. So I'm going to give you the shout out regardless.
Okay. You're going to give me the shout out regardless.
Yeah. So enjoy.
I am going to shout out a MTG content creator he's on the YouTubes, obviously. I think he does delve a little bit into streaming nowadays, but he is actually one of the reasons why I got into Merfolk in Modern.
Ooh.
Yeah, he was grinding Merfolk. I mean, he's been grinding Merfolk for at least like 10, 12 years now.
Oh, if he's the guy that I think you're talking about, it has been every bit of a decade. This guy has just been jamming Merfolk in all formats.
Yes. His name is Nikachu. And his YouTube is Nikachu MTG. Currently has 13.7 thousand subscribers.
That ain't no slouch.
No, that's pretty cool. He does a lot of different content. Like he just kind of assesses the metagame, different things like that, But does obviously still play lots of Merfolk content for people out there. And with the new set out with Merfolk in it, maybe there's a new one. I don't think there is, but you never know.
But he always usually some new Merfolk comes out, he finds a way to jam it in a deck and just go, which is super sick.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's I believe there's only a couple of Merfolk in the new set. I don't think they're very good, especially in the modern format.
No, not at all. But that's regardless.
Most of them are kickers. But yeah, definitely a good shout out. Make some really good content. And also shout out, there is one Merfolk that I believe he mentioned at one point that might see some play, and that is the Thieving Skydiver. But I'll let that up to your imagination, because that is my shout out for.
Oh yeah, Merfolk just in general. Shout out.
Yeah, anyone that's still jamming Merfolk, you can tweet at. I don't know if you know this, everyone, but the Fetch and Shock podcast has a Twitter account. I believe it is Fetch_Shock.
Oh, dude, you're just gonna take care of it all today. I love that shit.
I mean, I have to try at least a little bit. But if you do want to reach out to anyone on the Fetch and Shock podcast and talk about your Merfolk endeavors, would you be able to tell them the Twitter, Tyler?
Yeah, if you want to do it to Fetch and Shock in general, which I will definitely forward on to Austin, you can do that at Fetch_Shock. If you hate Merfolk and you hate Spreading Seas, you can find me on Twitter at Basic Landbin, and we can talk shit together. And then if you want to join in the conversation with a bunch of people that have some feelings towards Merfolk, you can find that on the Fetch and Shock Discord. That link is in the description of this episode and in our Twitter. And also, this is something that I would like to announce. We talked about this in the episode about how much we love this limited format. If you want to play this limited format with everybody from the Fetch and Shock Discord, we are having another post-release pre-release, and we are going to do it on Friday, the 9th of October. So we're going to do it like an F&M style. In the evening, everybody can just like come, hang out, do a little Friday Night Magic. We're going to be playing some Zendikar Sealed. So all you have to do is just buy 6 packs and have the lands to build your deck. You show up, we all jump into the Discord. It was a blast last time. So if you want to join that, jump to the Discord, join in. We'll definitely have a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm super excited about that. I hope I'm off work.
Well, yeah, fingers crossed.
If not, I'm giving away my shift.
All right, dude. Wait, do you have a Twitter that you want to shout out? I don't think you actually use Twitter, do you?
I don't use it much. It's basically just a vector for memes at this point.
That's fair. But I mean, you are on the Fetch and Shock Discord.
I am on the Fetch and Shock Discord, so if you do want to talk to me on the Fetch and Shock Discord, you'll be able to find me and a member there.
All right, dude, that was a hell of an episode.
Yeah, I feel like we covered quite a bit there, and I
covered a lot of ground.
I feel like I didn't completely blow it. Hopefully, everyone doesn't hate it.
No, now since I have completed my Voltron of honkies that play Magic,
your Exodia.
We have to do the full Exodia cast of you, Rupert, Zach, and myself.
I would definitely be a part of that.
That will be quite a fucking episode. God damn.
Yeah, it would be. But I appreciate you having me on this week.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, dude.
Hopefully everyone enjoyed it. Hopefully I had some nice segues there.
No, you did. You slid into it pretty well.
Yeah, I feel like I've listened to, how many episodes is this now? Is this like 60 something?
I think this will be like 66, something like
66?
that. Don't quote me.
Yeah. Don't quote us on anything we said tonight.
No, absolutely not. Just the least quotable podcast on the planet.
It didn't happen. unless you're blowing your own dick off.
Yeah. Only quote us if you're blowing your dick off. Tweet at us when you do it, so we're fully aware.
And if you do make it a video, it has to be on Twitter.
Yeah, absolutely. Fetch_shock. Hashtag blowing your own dick off.
And this will be episode 67 for the ladies and gentlemen at home counting.
Okay, perfect. Well, we should have waited the blowing the dick off part for episode 69, but whatever.
We always come early, so.
God damn it. Okay, we're done now. See you later, nerds!
See you!